Astronaut safety.
And hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. I'm listening in here. We've got a launch coming up here, my friends. This is exciting because this is a Falcon Heavy launch. Falcon Heavy is obviously one of the coolest rockets flying. Definitely, I would say definitely the coolest operational rocket flying. It's hard to beat two boosters landing like simultaneously. So this is exciting because we hopefully get to see that today. And it looks like decent-ish weather. But we'll get to that in a second. I'm trying to listen in here because they're keeping us up to date right now. But now I have a little minor update. Well, first off, hi guys. I hope you guys are doing great. Thank you so much to all of you that have watched the recent tours of Starbase with Elon. Super cool to be able to produce those videos. I got them out as quickly as I could. It's so funny. People are always like, "How dare you wait?" It's like, because we go into a factory and a facility with spaceflight hardware, it has to go through a lot of approval processes. It's not the same as an interview, in an approved space. So just for reference, I know a lot of people are always wondering, where is it? It's like, I was moving as fast as I could. I worked many 15-plus hour days, actually, in the last week to get these all ready for you guys. So thank you for watching. It really does mean a lot. And I just love it. It's like history. It's able to capture history. It's going to be fun to look back at those. But today is a different story, my friends. Today, we have the launch of a Falcon Heavy. And what I was going to say is, normally, when you want to learn something about space, blah, 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 and you're trying to figure out what launch, we've been doing pre-launch previews for the past several years. But lately, we've had to make some changes because there's so many rockets launching. I have paid the team, I think, a very fair salary to be able to, or an amount to be able to cover these launches, but it got to the point where the website was costing a lot of money each month. So we've cut down on the amount of pre-launch previews we're doing, and last month there's not enough. By not enough, we literally, I don't even think, had a single article. So maybe don't rely on us for pre-launch previews anymore. We're working on a new way of doing this, so bear with us during our kind of transition period here. We will have them back. We will have a version of pre-launch previews for you, because I still think this is like a super valuable asset, just to click on an article, see the things that you want to know, which is when's it taking off, what's it doing, just the facts. Just strip it down to the facts. I don't need all the words, just give me, that's like the bare bones of it. That's what I've always wanted. And we're working on a new system, so please bear with us. So yeah, and huge thank you to all those that have written and do continue to write for Everyday Astronaut. You guys, it was an amazing run, and it's just been, as you can tell, with 150, 200 launches, 300 launches a year, it just becomes like we're trying to just do the important things and just kind of stay on top of new and exciting things. Kind of like when I stream, I tend to only do exciting, big missions, firsts, and excitement. Okay. Anyway, let's go through what we're hoping to see today here. This is going to be taking off today, June 25th. It is June. Holy crap. That's crazy. It's almost the end of June. The last month has been insane. How is it the end of June? Okay. End of June. Mission for this, GOES-U, which is a weather satellite, a very fancy weather satellite. Launch provider for this is SpaceX. The customer is actually the NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is, we'll just call it the weather people. The rocket for this is Falcon Heavy with now notice this is interesting, B1087-1, B1072-1, and B1086-1. That's right, these are all new cores. This is the first time all 3 of these cores have flown. That is rare these days to see, a rocket. I just feel like we rarely see a new booster, let alone 3 at once. So brand new Falcon Heavy. The launch for this is, of course, the only launch pad that can currently support Falcon Heavy, which is Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The payload mass is 5,000 kilograms, or 5 tons, which is 11,000 pounds, heading out to geostationary transfer orbit. So GTO. Where the first stages land, the center core will be expended, which is kind of the norm for Falcon Heavy. I still don't know I've heard it go back and forth, but I do think we might see a recovery attempt of a center core. There's just not a lot of crossover, believe it or not, between by the time you try to recover the center core to make that mission profile work, there's a Falcon 9 can just about do that anyway. So there's a very little convergence really where you can do all 3 core recoveries, even downrange with the center core, that truly increases the performance. There's probably a pretty big gap there. It's probably a few thousand tons to whatever. It's just not that common. So I don't know if we will for sure see that, but that might still be on the table someday. Anyway, will they be attempting to recover the fairings? The fairing halves will be covered by the boat Doug, or the ship Doug. This will be the 10th Falcon Heavy mission. We're at 10 already. The 323rd and 324th booster landing. It'll be the 250th consecutive booster landing. That's insane. 67th SpaceX launch of 2024, and the 85th SpaceX launch from Launch Complex 39A. Isn't that wild? It's already the 67th launch of the year, and we're not even quite halfway done. They're pretty close to that 148 number that John Edwards was saying he wanted to hit, because they were originally going to do 144, and he said that they didn't hit 4 from last year. That's going to be close. That's going to be really close. That's crazy, actually. All right, that's that, guys. I will get to your questions here as much. Well, let me answer. I see one right away. We hear from David Swenson right away. Holy crap, David! Thank you so much for your generous donation. That's very, very nice. Thoughts on attending the Ariane 6 launch? I have been traveling nonstop for the last 4 weeks. Finally got home for the first time just last week, and I traveled a whole bunch before that. I want to be home. I want to be home in the summer. I haven't had time to get into any routines. I haven't had time to eat right and be outside and be healthy and active. It's just been travel. And I'm very much looking forward to covering the Ariane 6 launch from the comfort of my own home, my own studio. This is a real quick, just fun question. We'll get to the launch as soon as they actually are showing some stuff. Right now, they're kind of just showing some videos that you can find. But we're T-minus 30 minutes, so we'll just hang out here for a little bit. This is from Circle for Landing. Does Tim still have a refurbished TV remote van? Yes, that's still the heart of our launch infrastructure down at Starbase. So when you see launches of Falcon of Starship, that's all powered by Luna, our production van, and it's continually still going through upgrades. If we took the last video that you guys saw, we did a video 2 years ago about how we built it and stuff, and I don't know, it's kind of fun to make a video like that that's super different. But if we saw it today, maybe we'll do a studio tour here soon and show how it's all set up these days. But it's pretty crazy, and it just keeps getting more and more ridiculous. But it's more or less become like an extra room on wheels. It doesn't really move much, and I don't want to move it because it's become such an integral part of our infrastructure. Thank you so much from RC, great interview, and also from Soldat and Geese. Thank you guys very much. Let's see. So this is DK57. So again, kind of back to the why don't they recover the center core topic. So it's interesting. So it's kind of like it's almost a compound problem. If you try to think about what's happening, the faster. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and pop up the. You can see Falcon Heavy on the pad there. Since we have it in the shot, we might as well pull it up, see all those brand new shiny cores. Okay, so as the center core goes faster, right? So that's what's happening here. That's the Falcon Heavy. You kind of think of it as like a heavy lift vehicle. It can lift more. Technically, yes, it can lift more, but the amount that the payload weighs compared to the mass of the entire vehicle with all of its propellant is minuscule. It's like a few % of the total weight of the vehicle. So it's not like you add 3 cores and now it can lift something that's 100 times, or 3 times heavier per se. It is technically true, but it's not as much as you might think. But the big difference, the big thing that's happening when you launch a Falcon Heavy, is that the center core throttles down to save propellant. So it's basically being like, it can throttle down and be yeeted by those two side boosters that can give it extra propellant. So normally, like, it's when the side boosters separate, you would imagine that the center core of a normal Falcon 9 would be burnt out. So instead, when they separate like that, the center cores will say, half full still. So it has all that extra propellant to continue to accelerate. So it's not necessarily that it's lifting more. Falcon 9 could easily lift a 5,000 kilogram satellite. Could it send a 5,000 kilogram satellite out to geostationary transfer orbit? That's more of a job for Falcon Heavy. Actually, I feel like it can do that. So that's actually confusing. Trevor! But the thing that I was going to say is, so what's scary then is as this thing accelerates, right, now it becomes harder and harder and requires more propellant to also slow back down, because remember, it has to slow down before it reaches the atmosphere for that entry burn. Falcon 9 is, it's aluminum. It enters engines first. If it comes in too fast and doesn't scrub off enough speed, the atmosphere will destroy it. So, ironically, the faster you go with a booster or with a core that's trying to be recovered, the more propellant you have to spend then to slow it back down before you re-enter. So it's like there's a convergence there of we're like, okay, sure, we can recover it now, but we didn't hardly use it. It's like the difference between there's a lot of convergence points and a lot of like crossovers, and the center core, it just becomes a very small sector where it even is viable as a mission profile to recover it, where you wouldn't just do like a Falcon 9 or just expend it and get a lot more performance out of it. They're just kind of riding that fine line. I hope that answers the question. That was a long little rant, but there you go. Let's see here. This is awesome, from Interstellar Gateway. Woohoo, it's Falcon Heavy Day. Awesome work. It is. Falcon Heavy Day is always fun. These are such fun missions to watch. These are my favorite outside of currently. I would definitely say Starship has been extremely exciting and very fun to watch. I would say, honestly, the next most exciting one that I can't wait to see fly again would definitely be SLS. SLS was a lot of fun to watch, and I really want to see that fly again with humans on it. So from Caleb, will the boosters be returning to the launch site or drone ships today? Both of the boosters are landing back at the launch site, so RTLS, return to launch site. Return to launch site landings at LZ1 and LZ2 there at the Cape. And that's going to be super fun. I love the views from there. Hopefully we get some beautiful tracking shots. And because it's one of the things that I really like, because it's a NASA mission, hopefully we'll get those tracking shots uploaded to their gallery here within a week or so after the launch. I really hope, at least. Let's see here. This is a question from Brandon. Any idea if SpaceX tried to fetch the booster and ship after landing in the ocean? Nope, they let them sink to the bottom of the ocean. The value there was data, was not the hardware. The hardware is of almost no value that they can't be solved by looking at data. My understanding is that neither were recovered nor even attempted to be recovered. This is from Darth Maximus. I want to be an astronaut, so I'm doing a degree in aerospace engineering next year. That is fantastic. We're cheering for you. That's the way to do it, aerospace engineering. But the cool thing is you don't have to. I mean, that's awesome. I'm just for other people. If you are interested in being an astronaut, you don't have to do aerospace engineering. There's astronauts that are microbiologists and geologists and all walks these days. As a mission specialist, you can kind of be specialized in a specific science. In chemistry and biology or whatever. You don't necessarily have to be an aerospace engineer. Aerospace engineering is an amazing way to get into the field for sure of just everything, all of aerospace, obviously. Fantastic degree, especially these days. Well, there's a lot of need for a lot of good aerospace engineers as everyone's continuing to push the bounds and grow and work towards some really incredible things in the aerospace industry. So that's great. We are cheering for you, absolutely. This is Beck Iverson. How many more launches of Falcon Heavy will there be? I doubt there will be many more because of Starship. The only big thing is that there's a lot of launches that purchased a ride on Falcon Heavy. And the reason that's important is because That means that, Falcon Heavy became certified and fits the envelope of whatever payload, was purchased. So say it's a, GOES satellite. Even if Starship could launch that in the next 3 or 4 years, it would still probably be considered a higher risk item than, say, launching on a known vehicle like Falcon Heavy that's been certified. Whoa, look at the turbulence of that thing. That's wild. But yeah, so there'll still be a lot of Falcon Heavy missions. I don't think we have to worry about that going anywhere too soon. Yeah, so don't worry about it yet. But my guess would be we'll see at least 10 more, maybe even 20 or 30. I don't think it's going anywhere too soon. This is from Sebastian Layden. Thank you so much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. And Ian Masters just became a member. Very much thank you. Let's see. This is from Ian DeRoche. What's the coolest behind-the-scenes thing that have happened to you during your time at the Starship launch site? At the launch site, I mean, you pretty much saw everything we saw at the launch site. There wasn't anything, honestly, that particularly exciting about the launch site this time. There wasn't any like, wow, that we've never seen this before. It was just surreal. It was dark, and walking up to it at night was like crazy. It was so much darker than it looks in the video. Our videos are cranked in ISO. I'm really impressed with the Osmo Pocket's ability to shoot at night. It outperformed the Ronin, which is crazy. The Ronin, I don't know if we cranked the ISO on it as much as we probably could have to get a little more light in. But so I don't know if anything there. But the coolest thing to me that happened behind the scenes, I just posted about this on X right before I went live. My favorite thing that happened to me beforehand was that when I walked into Stargate for the first time for these interviews, this time there was our Astro Awards up here. I'll try to pull that up here real quick. Give me a second. I think this is really cool personally. Hang on. Okay, yeah, check this out. Here. So I said one of my most proud moments in this latest round of interviews with Elon Musk was walking into Stargate and seeing our Astro Awards live award on the shelf. It was accepted by John Edwards at our first in-person Astro Awards last year. So if you see on the shelf here, you'll notice the Astro Award right there. And here's us giving it to him. We had, a crowd at the Paramount Theater in Austin. We live streamed this. If you missed it, be sure and get ready for next year. We're going to be planning that out here very soon. But there's John Edwards getting the award in front of our crowd of people. To me, that was that was awesome to know that they actually it was already there, on the shelf. Big shelf. Hopefully they're going to get a lot more awards from us and from other institutes and other things. But pretty cool that there's an Astro Award inside of Starbase. That definitely made my day. Yeah, I thought big proud moment. Definitely. Let's see here. This is from Michael Busby. So many space launch companies seem to have chosen methane lately. Was there a video on that? Do you think we'll see methane production bottleneck in the future, or is that process trivial? Great question. I think that is a concern, personally. I think there is the chance of there being a bottleneck of methane because Starship alone could probably fill by far all the demands of all the methane that, if it ramps up like they're planning to do. Sorry, I'm also trying to listen to this at the same time. It's hard for me to listen and talk at the same time. By the way, we should point out... Oh, never mind. We'll talk about it in a second. Starship will eat through a lot of demand of the propellant and of methane. Why is it so popular? I think it's just a nice compromise between, it's very well performing. It's similar density to RP1. It kind of just is a nice balance. It's a Goldilocks, and it's really weird that people didn't fly this before now, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, I guess this is a good compromise. It also offers some advantages for people doing closed cycle and full flow. It's a great fuel for full flow and for ox-rich as well. So it just has some advantages, and it's a little bit better for the environment compared to RP1. It can be cheaper than RP1. But by the time you do handling and all that stuff, it might not be cheaper than RP1, but per gallon, it's technically cheaper. I have to update the pre-launch link in our YouTube channel. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to everydayastronaut.com. That's right. I did not update that before we went live. So those of you that were trying to get the pre-launch preview here, I'm going to post it so that it's in there. That was the wrong pre-launch preview. There you go, updated. Thank you, Lisa. And thanks to all the mods for always taking care of all this stuff. You guys are amazing, and yeah, keep the community very fun to be around. I miss live streaming more. I always say that, and yeah. Oh, this is cool from Sojourner Art. My grandmother's cousin worked on this satellite. Didn't realize it was launching on a Falcon Heavy until recently. Okay, so if it's your grandmother's cousin, then that would be your first cousin twice removed. I know a lot of people say, no, that'd be your something. No, that's your first cousin twice removed. I got really into this once because we were trying to figure out my family tree, and my mom was talking about her second cousin. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I could not figure it out. And then we eventually figured out that that's my second cousin once removed. For those of you trying to, yeah. That's, but I'm excited. I feel like I'm sparking a debate right now, but I'm actually quite sure that I'm right on that stuff. It's weird. Holy crap, from Jarrett Scott just came through. Always great coverage from you. When you interviewed Elon, did he mention anything about getting you a seat on Starship in the future? No, absolutely not. Again, that's not Starship, and what had happened with Deer Moon had almost nothing to do with Elon, you know, and it really had everything to do with Yusaku's choice on what to do and how long to wait and all that stuff. And you know, it's not like Elon. People were like, yeah, of course they put Tim on it because Elon, he sucks up to Elon. Like I've heard comments like that. It's like that has nothing to do with MZ's choices and who to choose for a mission. So at the same time, Elon has no say in any matter of what customers would choose, who to fly what. And very importantly, that's still not my goal. That's not like my big, thing that I'm trying to achieve in life. I'm not like, I'm going to go to space or I'm going to die trying. That's not my big overreaching goal. I have no expectations for that. I'm not changing my life plan to try and pursue that. Obviously, there was what seemed like a great opportunity, and I felt like it would have been stupid to not try to take that opportunity. In hindsight, I wish that we had known all the terms ahead of time so that we didn't get the rug pulled out from us right when it gets announced, basically. That would have been very nice. But the reality is I wasn't owed that mission. None of us were owed that mission. None of us are owed any of that. I'm not owed a new mission. I'm not owed a seat on any vehicle. No one really is. I think the only people that are way more deserving of something like that are professional astronauts, the people that are training to do science and research. It's not someone like me that sits here talking about this stuff. And again, it's not my destiny. That's not what I'm, trying to do. So no, Elon had no say on that. I think to be honest, I think it kind of feels like it was a lose situation. The crew disappointed, obviously, lost. MZ lost. I don't know if it's either financial lose or just him looking, it didn't look great, optically. SpaceX lost a customer. It was a lose. And yeah. Let's see here. This is from Jacob Adams. Love your space coverage and latest Elon interview was great as always. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. And I almost nailed your Dutch name. Hey, that's great. Oh, I was probably pretty far off though. That's great though. Let's see here. Do I think SpaceX will have a good chance of catching the Starship booster with the clamp at the launch pad? So don't forget, the clamp is kind of the mount. That's like the ring. That's what we consider the clamps. They're using the arms just to clear things up, just to make sure we're speaking the same language here. Do I think they'll have a good chance of catching Starship booster with the arms? I mean, the first time, maybe not. I could easily see it not going perfectly. I could easily see it smacking into something and blowing up, and it'll be exciting. I don't think it's going to cause an insane amount of damage. I don't think it's going to be any worse than when SN 8, 9, 10, 11 blew up. I don't think it's going to be detrimental. I do feel like if I were SpaceX, if I were in charge, I would personally do one more targeted soft splashdown. Just really make sure they have the margins to really sit there and hover and line things up perfectly. Have that control. do like a controlled, like once you hover, do a controlled like 360-degree spin or something, just to prove out that and a translation, just to prove the control scheme is dialed in before you bring it back to the pad. That's just me. We'll see. I think they'll figure it out eventually. I think this is one of those things that seems ridiculous, but I really do think it's genuinely quite feasible. Like there's nothing actually that wild about it. It seems really crazy to us now, but then when you look at like, well, what's the biggest problems? And it's like, well, they already can land really, really precisely with the Falcon 9. And Falcon 9, only has a single engine at landing. It has some pretty weak cold gas thrusters and some grid fins that when you're going slow, they don't really have any control authority when you're down to that last little bit. Starship, on the other hand, has 3 engines running. Super Heavy has 3 engines running at landing, so it can do a lot more transitional control, hovering. It can hover, which Falcon 9 can't do. It can still roll under those engines. It just has a lot more control authority, in theory. And we saw some of that practice even like with the old SN5, SN6 days. Yeah, I think that I think they'll get it figured out. It might take a time or two, but yeah. Thank you so much to K Creative. It's K Create. Great interviews, Tim. How did you feel standing next to the huge Starship stack? Also, shout out to my friend Igor who's watching the stream. That's awesome. Well, howdy there, Igor. Yeah, I think it's. I feel bad that my words that came out of my mouth were basically only the words crazy and insane, and I'm sorry. You really do get speechless. And like, I've been there. I've been to Starbase and walked around the pad so many times, but the closer you get, the more surreal it is. And I just couldn't, we're sitting there with wide angle lenses, which wide angle lenses are actually a really bad thing to try and capture something big and make it look big, because it actually makes everything that's far away look smaller, right? Ironically, if we had I wish in hindsight that I would have had Elon walk towards the launch mount, basically stand underneath it, and then shoot with like a telephoto lens, so you just see how tiny he is compared to one of those giant legs of the launch mount. Or when you see someone up on the tower and you see him crossing a thing, and you see a little small section of the rocket, and you see a human next to it, you're like, oh, that thing's huge. But sitting there with a wide-angle lens, I was trying so hard to convey how it just doesn't even compute. Like, your brain kind of just goes, yeah, and as he, kind of walk towards it and get closer, it's wild. And the lighting, I think in the day, it probably would have almost looked, I don't know if it would have been better or worse, but, at that time of night where it's kind of dark and your eyes are adjusting and there's lighting on it, it just was... It was crazy. That's the only word I can say. Mad Han Kumar. Does someone want to tell him? Maybe double check Twitter, or I guess X or Instagram or YouTube Studios, like YouTube creator posts under my channel. I fear I have some bad news. Yeah. Let's see. This is from Daily RPG. What happens to the OG launch tower at Starbase when Tower 2 is finished and V2 Starship is launching? Do you think they'll extend it to work with V2? I think they'll probably just upgrade it. They might take it all down. There might be segments and sections that they can repurpose. But my guess would be once they get the second version of Starship flying and the new launch pad, they'll see how it works. And very likely, as we see with so many things at Starbase, they kind of build a minimum viable product, get things tested, get things working, and then they iterate. We saw it with the tents. We saw it with Starhopper going to the SN flights to, SN5 and 6 to the SN8 hops to the orbital, suborbital launch pads that were just super rudimentary to a lot more advanced orbital launch pad to a much more advanced version 2. We're just going to see more and more. I'm going to hear what they're saying.
Hangar AE at nearby Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, because this is where we continue to monitor the launch team as we march towards that T0 of 5:26 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Florida Space Coast. So right now, Mick, the spacecraft team is beginning to transition the spacecraft to internal power. That's going to take a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah, spacecraft's working their procedures, verifying the health of the spacecraft, getting everything ready. They'll then transition around T-minus 6 minutes, 5 minutes. They'll transition to internal power, finish up that procedure, disconnecting from the ground power at the pad, and getting ready for launch today.
So the last time you guys were with us, the launch team has begun loading super cold liquid oxygen into the heavy second stage. That happened at T-minus 18 minutes. The next major fueling milestone that's expected at T-minus 7 minutes, and that's when SpaceX will chill down the Heavy's 27 engines on the boost.
Okay, just checking in, making sure we're not missing anything. I wanted to make sure we're not missing any of that. Great question here from Frevels. Hey, Tim, where is your female co-commentator? Greetings from Switzerland. Well, this is a shout out to Mary Liz Chalinsky. And Mary Liz and Ryan live down in Texas. They are who make up the founders of Cosmic Perspective. I'm sure you see our Cosmic Perspective co-branding everywhere. That's Mary Liz and Ryan Chalinsky. Mary Liz is due any day to have their baby, to have the first little Zoe Chalinsky baby. Very excited, very, very excited for them. And she had been commenting for a few launches at Starbase, and she does a lot of the production at Starbase when we're down there at Mars. But we actually are just kind of trying to hone that in to make it so it's, we're actually trying to shorten the programming around those and make it simpler and just answer a lot more questions. So she does a lot of the programming and production side of things. And obviously all the organizing of everything like that. So when I'm here in Iowa, it's always just been me. But that's where Mary Liz is. So everyone say congrats to Mary Liz and Ryan, and we're really excited to welcome Zoe into the world with them and say hi to little baby. Do you think we'll see another flight with Core attempting to land on a drone ship? I think so. I gotta follow up on this and see where we're at exactly. But I do think we will see that someday in the near future. I don't remember if it's when it's happening, but there was talks of it going back and forth. Let me ask here in Discord. Because it's changed like 3 times, and I can't keep up with it anymore. I should point out this is a great time to do a few things. Number one, that shot just changed. Number one, I was about to say, you can see the condensation pouring off. These are one of those talking points that we get a lot of questions. That's not smoke. It's actually because of the liquid oxygen on board the vehicle. So just think of a freezer, and in humid air, obviously the really, really, really cold air surrounding, that liquid oxygen sitting inside there at minus 186 degrees Celsius or something like that. It's something ridiculous. And condensation builds up around and freezes off, and you see little ice and little clouds of condensation as the ambient air comes in contact with that really, really, really cold. Here we go. And that's venting as well. There's also venting of liquid oxygen that becomes gaseous oxygen, but it's still really cold, comes in contact with the air, and you get these little condensation clouds. When we get another better shot, I'll probably have to do our pointy end up, flaming end down check. Probably. Let's see. This is from Liam the Rocket Nerd. Are there any spots open on your team? I would love to work with you and your team. Well, thank you, Liam. Right now, we're kind of trying to... So, I don't know if you've noticed, but YouTube algorithms has changed a lot. The ad rates on YouTube are a lot different. Patreon's changed. We've actually kind of had to pull things back, and to be honest, like, I'm just trying to be transparent. Like, we've tried to kind of some of the stuff with the website. Things are different than they were 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago especially. We've had to kind of reel things in a little bit, and so we're actually trying to not trim our team, but just be more lean and efficient with what we do have. But we sometimes are looking for people to help out at Starbase launches with tracking. Currently, we have a stacked team, but sometimes people can't make it. So sometimes we do need backups. Specifically, if you do live within close driving distance, let's say Austin or San Antonio, Houston, Brownsville, McAllen area, the RGV, let us know. Maybe reach out. Don't flood it, please. Don't flood the email. Please only do this if you have experience. Actually, Strongback Retract is coming up. That is awesome. If you have experience with flight sims or like video games where you do like Call of Duty sniping or something, where you have experience tracking things, we don't know. We don't know what's going to make someone really good at tracking because we've hardly really been able to do it. But you are flying a joystick basically and tracking an object. So if you do that and you're within drive, go ahead and hit up info@everydayastronaut.com. We might put your name on the roster there as people to call up when we need more help. Felix, thank you so much for your super chat. And Dan, thank you for becoming a member. Much, much appreciated. Yeah, this is... I was trying to figure this out as well. Why does GoesU need Falcon Heavy? It's only 5.5 tons. Falcon Heavy can do 15 tons. Hang on.
LD, everything's looking good on our end. Copy that. Thank you.
Thumbs up from NASA, again, confirming that weather, right, was the big watch item, and that is not a constraint to launch right now.
Yep, the team has looked at all the data.
Cool.
Things continue to progress very well. Weather looks really good out there.
NY,
and
countdown 1.
Dr. Gibson says things are good.
NASA is go for launch.
There we hear the final go for launch from Dr. Denton Gibson on the countdown net, and LOX load on one of the side boosters. There we hear the second call for LOX load complete on the 2 side boosters.
You also do see the water tower leaking. That's normal.
In the center core of the first stage booster, and then finishing up as we get down close to T0, the LOX load on second stage. So things progressing very well, Megan.
I do want to mention that Dr. Denton Gibson, this is his first launch as launch manager.
Yes, very happy.
So so back to the GoesU satellite, or the question. I don't remember, to be honest. I can't recall off the top of my head what the heaviest GTO satellite that the Falcon 9 has flown while recovered. And I'm guessing, I don't know. I got to try to find that answer, because that one does confuse me, that it's not that heavy, especially for GTO. I feel like the Falcon Heavy should almost be able to do that to GEO, straight to GEO. Do a coast and then a orbit raise. Yeah. Okay, let's get a few more in here before launch, and then I'm going to shut up around T-1 minute, and we'll listen in. By the way, real quick, pointy end up, flaming end down. Confirmed. Great shot for it. You see the strong back? All side. There's 3 pointy ends even and 27 flaming ends. This one's easy. LOX load complete. Sweet. Totally filled. Okay, we're getting close. I'll answer a few more questions, and then in coast phase, I'll answer a few more questions for you guys. We'll probably just keep this stream nice and short and sweet, but let's answer this one from Michael Busby. In your opinion, do you think China occasionally drops spent stages on populated areas for geographical limitations, or just simply a lack of caring? It's kind of both. They do now have launch sites on the coasts, but yeah, some of their original launch sites were inland, and they still launch from there, and they still drop hypergolic spent boosters on populated areas, and it's terrible. Should not ever be a thing. Even if it wasn't hypergolic, I don't think people want to live in fear of a giant rocket booster falling on their house. Terrible. Let's see here. This is from Terra Prime. Where do I get the Falcon Heavy models like the one behind me? So these are the 172 scale Falcon Heavy, Falcon 9 models that Ollie Braun used to make, but sadly he's no longer making any models. And no one can even hear from him anymore. Which is half of the reason why I decided to start producing our own Falcon 9s. Someday maybe we'll try to branch out and make Falcon Heavy stuff. But we have a lot more to do. So let's listen in here. Enjoy the launch, my friends. Let's go SpaceX. Let's go NASA. Let's go NOAA. Very exciting. Let's listen into...
All systems are go to send NOAA's GoesU satellite into space to keep a watchful eye over the Western Hemisphere, helping scientists and meteorologists to issue timely warnings and forecasts.
T-minus 30 seconds.
This will be NASA's Launch Services Program's 16th mission for NOAA.
A great partnership over the years we've had. Looking forward to this launch.
15 seconds.
And here we go. 10,
T-minus 10.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go GoesU.
Liftoff of GoesU, NOAA's newest weather satellite, to monitor the Earth and Sun in high definition.
Hear that all pressure.
Come on.
Engines look nominal.
Oh, that's a shot. See the rocket rolling.
Things looking good as you see the Falcon Heavy soaring towards the heavens. All 27 engines powerfully lifting Goes U on its trajectory and ascent into space.
A beautiful shot as we
Power and
track
telemetry nominal.
the rocket from the ground here. The rocket is now powering down for max Q. Max Q is the moment of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket. Max Q expected at 1 minute 7 seconds.
Oh, got it right.
The vehicle is now supersonic,
Yes.
Falcon Heavy is supersonic.
traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
There we heard the call for max Q, maximum dynamic pressure on the Falcon Heavy. Vehicle still performs very well. All the data looks nominal.
I should point out those flames that kind of climb up the side of the rocket are actually normal because there's low pressure zones from the wake from literally, in the leeward wind, in the wake of the rocket. So that area can be low pressure. So the high pressure flame and exhaust will actually kind of start climbing up. So there actually has to be thermal considerations on the side of the rocket. So you'll notice that as it kind of gets higher.
Plus 2 minutes and 28 seconds, the side boosters are going to shut off while the center core will continue on. Wow, what a shot there of, again, all 27 Merlin engines firing off. 5.1 million pounds of thrust.
The side booster cutoff will be referred to as BECO. We'll hear that call out. And then when the center core shuts off later in flight, we'll hear that called as main engine cutoff, or MECO. Side boosters are all boosters are performing nominally. Everything's looking good with the 27 Merlin engines.
Here we go.
Side booster separation confirmed.
There we see BECO and side booster.
MVAC chill.
Side booster separation. The MVAC is being chilled down, getting ready for ignition. Once the center core.
NY boost back startup.
And there we heard the call out for boost back startup.
A lot of things happening here. So again, we have the 2 boosters that are going to be returning to the Cape here, landing at landing zones 1 and 2. These 2 boosters have 3 burns, so we're seeing a boost back burn
All
now.
vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
Essentially, these boosters have flipped back and are returning on a path to the Cape here. There will be 2 more burns, a re-entry burn and then a landing burn. And these are going to provide quite a show for folks that are here on the Space Coast because you're going to hear those sonic booms, Mick.
Yeah, absolutely. We are looking forward to those sonic booms as the side boosters land at landing zone 1 and 2. We're about 26 seconds away from main engine cutoff and the center core separating. Once the center core separates, we will then have MVAC, which is the Merlin vacuum engine for space, start up and get ready for what we call SES1, number 1. Today we have 3 burns for this mission to get Goes U's on its way, and this will be the first of those 3 burns.
TY boost back shutdown.
There we hear the 2 side boosters have boost back shutdown.
And now we're going to watch live footage there. There you go, of MECO.
Beautiful.
Again, the core
and back ignition
booster separating from the second stage, and the MVAC engine on that second stage lighting up. You see that on the right side of your screen.
Shout out to that stage 2
We're about 4
team.
seconds from fairing deployment.
Always making
Fairing again is the two
All vehicles continue
halves.
to follow nominal trajectories. Fairing separation confirmed.
Oh, yeah.
There we have confirmation the fairing has deployed. The fairings are brand new fairings for the Goes U mission, and they will fall back to Earth and be recovered by the recovery ship Doug. But SpaceX will look to reuse those fairings on a future flight, along with the side boosters. As we see there, they're coming back to Earth to land on landing zone 1 and 2. So things are progressing very well here. We are about 1 minute and 23 seconds from what we call the entry burn, where the plus Y and NY side boosters will fire up their engines to start slowing down the vehicle as it gets ready for landing.
Yeah, a lot to watch. Again, the left side of your screen, we are tracking the boosters that are coming back to the Cape here. On the right side of your screen, that is the MVAC engine on the second stage that continues to burn as it makes its way into the correct orbit to drop off Goes U later today.
Each one FTS is saved.
There we hear the autonomous flight termination system was saved as it returns back to Earth, making sure the vehicle is in a proper configuration for landing.
That's going to be an awesome
The second
shot.
stage is currently taking GOES-U across the Atlantic towards southern Africa. And this is the first time, actually, a GOES satellite is launching on a Falcon Heavy. Only the second time NASA's Launch Services Program is using a Falcon Heavy.
Yeah, we launched our first Falcon Heavy with SpaceX back in October of 23 with the Psyche mission. And the side boosters actually that we used on the Psyche mission will be used for our future mission, Europa Clipper, this October. So brand new hardware today for GOES-U, and everything looks like it's performing very well. All the telemetry, everything looks nominal for the flight so far today.
Yeah, those who typically watch our launch broadcasts.
Entry burn startup.
There
That
we heard
is-
the call out for entry burn startup. The vehicles are slowing. You can imagine this as a brake on your car where it starts slowing the boosters back down very quickly as
EY,
they...
NY,
shot
entry
on the
burn
left.
shutdown.
Looks like it's at altitude. No, it's not. Not at altitude. Maybe. Where is that from? Oh, look at that.
Beautiful
All
imagery
vehicles continue
again
to follow nominal trajectories.
Get
from the
focus,
ground
please.
as we track those boosters make their way back to the Cape. We saw some
focus,
birds fly into the camera's view as
Hey,
well.
Everybody wants to see the landing
Exactly.
of the side boosters.
Yes.
As we said earlier, Megan, the landing will be exciting for a lot of people to see. Getting 2 side boosters coming back to landing zone 1 and 2, we will get those sonic booms. I know that you here in the MDC, we will get some.
NY transonic.
We will
Stage
get
2 FTS is saved.
we will get some loud shaking right here in the Mission Director Center. I know a lot of people right here in Brevard will be excited when they hear the sonic booms.
EY, NY
Wow.
landing burn.
Landing burns just
Stage
started
2
up.
terminal guidance.
Wow, look at that. As it guides its way back down. Woo! Just heard the 2 sonic booms here in the room.
EY, NY landing leg deploy.
Our monitors
that.
shaking
That
as we
looks
watch
amazing.
these 2
That is
boosters
just
land.
awesome to see the 2 side boosters choreograph their way down to landing zone 1 and 2.
EY, NY landing confirmed.
We have successful landing of the 2 side boosters. Everybody looks great on the landing
Too
zone 1
good
and 2
at it.
as MVAC continues its mission with this
Seco.
first burn. And there we heard the call out for SECO, which is SECO 1, second stage engine cutoff for this first burn. And things look very
Nominal
good. The
orbit
trajectory
insertion.
looks... We hear the call out there that nominal orbit insertion. Everything looks great on the second stage performance for this first burn, Megan.
Yeah, and what you're looking at now, everyone on your screen, is the trajectory for the second stage of the Falcon Heavy with GOES-U. So again, it's making its way across the Atlantic towards southern Africa. This was the first of 3 burns for the second stage. The second stage will now coast for about 18 minutes before reigniting for its second burn. And if you look at the bottom of your screen there, we have a progress bar full of our milestones that we're covering during this live launch broadcast. And SES-2, that is that second burn we are talking about that will happen in, again, about 18 minutes from now. So Mick, as you said, so far so good. Really exciting launch.
Very exciting launch, and we got through that weather. And
Wow, that is incredible. I'm sorry, but those dual booster landings those really don't get old to me. It's just incredible. And a day like today where it's that crystal clear, I hope that all the tracking cameras between some of them get some really crispy shots. It is hard to keep focus because they're moving back so quick that you actually do have to pull focus on the scope. We know from experience with our stuff that you actually actively have to do it with that much magnification. And you're going from something, let's say, 3-5 miles away to 100 miles away. Sorry, I'm using miles. Multiply by 1.6 if you need. Or divide by 0.6. Wait, no, multiply by 1.6. There we go. I wanted to answer a few more questions. Just real quick, say thanks again for watching with me, and we'll take a few questions here. There's a decent little coast phase here. I might roll out here soon now that we got through the fun part, but I'm going to answer a few more questions for you guys. This is from Terrible Applause. Hi, everybody. Astronaut. Just realized the BE-4 and Raptor 3 will have almost the same thrust. Could ULA potentially change Raptor for Vulcan if SpaceX offers them at a significant price difference? No, definitely that won't happen. First off, I'm pretty sure Raptor currently is almost as powerful as BE-4. Like within, I mean, isn't it 230 tons, and BE4 is like 240 or 245? Like it's right there. Pretty sure Raptor 2 will be more powerful, and Raptor 3 will be a lot more powerful, like almost 50%, maybe like 40% more powerful. SpaceX, we've never seen them sell anything outside to anybody else. I don't see that being the future. They've never sold like a Merlin engine to anybody. I certainly do not see them selling to ULA. Let's see here. This is rockets for the rest of us. It says, I hope you see this in the flood of comments. When do you think the next Starship launch will be? Now, this is just my opinion. I think there might be a little bit longer time between Flight 4 and 5 than there was from Flight 3 and 4. The reasons I think that, if they do try to modify the launch license to include the boost back, to include tower catch, that might take a little bit of time. We have that. We also have the rework on the heat shield tile. I think might be, they're going to really want to nail that. I think they're really going to want to just have that heat shield be pristine and perfect. And I think they're going to take time on it. And I don't think it's going to be, we're already coming up on 3 weeks since the last one. I could see us not even being to the halfway point yet. So I'm thinking we're somewhere in August, if I were to have a guess. Total guess. This is from Crudy Fruity. Just watched the part 1 and 2 of your tour with Elon. It's absolutely phenomenal. They're able to provide us with such content. Great to see Elon so interested in the conversation as well. Thank you very much. It is interesting. I realize when I watch it back, I always realize that I'm overly actively listening. But I have found I don't do that as much with other people that I interview. But you'll notice I do it a lot with Elon, as I've found that it helps. He stutters a lot, and I've found that it does help knowing that you're following along. He doesn't have to try so hard to think about what he's saying. I've just noticed it the more I've talked to him, the more active listening I do with him, the more at ease he feels. And also I'm trying to constantly, there's a fine line here with the conversations that we have, because a lot of the stuff we might have heard, and he tends to go on, his speeches about, you need rapidly reusable. How silly would it be to throw away a plane? We hear that every time. There's a lot of speeches that I'm like, yep, we know. And I want to get him through that almost. But there's also, if you get too technical and you answer too technical or ask too technical of a question, it sadly gets cut out of the video, or he knows not to answer it due to just, intellectual property and ITAR constraints. So there has to be this fine line of like leaving these open-ended questions and trying to steer the conversation to try to get a little bit of new information that isn't super disruptive. And it's taken a time. This last one was a little bit different to me. I don't know if it's different, better, or worse. But it took a little bit. He went right into it, which is great. But he went right into like his normal things, and I was really trying to get a few new things. But at the same time, like that doesn't always matter. Sometimes just hearing again where we're at and being reminded of the importance of the grand scheme of things is actually super important too. Because there's a lot of people that might be their first time they ever watch a video about Starbase and what SpaceX is up to. Yeah, it's weird. It is interesting. I really enjoy conversations with people that will give me awesome answers to things, and I enjoy tours of places. There's still a bunch of videos that there's one that I keep harping on, and it's just crazy to me that it's not as popular as some of my other tour videos. But my tour where I'm going inside the companies in Europe and Germany at ESAR and at RFA is still one of my favorite videos. If you haven't watched it, I really, really, really highly recommend it. I do it. If you haven't watched it, do it. It's inside Europe's rocket factories at RFA and ESAR or something. It's only probably 5 or 6 videos down. You should be able to very easily find it. Watch that if you want more content. I promise it's honestly about as fun and as entertaining as the Starbase videos, just in a very different way. It really is one of my favorite sets of conversations. Yeah, you're right. I'll put a link up. You guys can all look at it then. And let me see here. Everyday Astronaut. I'm doing this for you. Everyday Astronaut Europe rockets. I'm sure that'll come up. There it is. It does not have... Okay, I'm going to spam this in chat. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. There's 5. Watch this video. Pin it. Open it on a different thing. I'll pin it. Wait, I'll pin it. I have the powers to pin. Watch that. I promise. If you want more content, it's crazy to me how few people have watched that because it is fascinating, and I promise it's worth the watch. Yeah. This is from Kelly Craig wanting to know, are you going to do an OLF episode this year? I love listening to OLF and Spacewalk. Thank you for mentioning Spacewalk because I do a podcast now, kind of in between videos. As you know, I've been working so hard the last bit here on getting these videos out that I haven't put out another Spacewalk, but I'll probably do one either end of this week, probably not the end of this week. I'll probably do one next week. So it's kind of meant to be filler between the videos. So if you want just my casual conversations on things like Boeing Starliner on the ISS or whatever questions you guys have, find Spacewalk Podcast. All one word. But I don't know. We'll probably do. I still talk with Ben and Joe quite often. We probably should do an update here sometime in the near future. Jarrett Scott, thank you so much for becoming a member. This is awesome. Shane Malloy, 53 months of membership. That is up there. I'm so proud of you. I hope you're proud of yourself. Thank you very much, Shane. That's just nice to hear. I appreciate that. I do take that to heart. Geez, from T Ferguson, I almost choked. I'm just sitting here waiting for the Falcon Heavy launch, wearing my Falcon Heavy shirt, Falcon Heavy shirt. Holy crap, you're OG. That is like 2017 or 2018. Absolutely crazy. The Iowa corn references. That is honestly crazy. Wow. Thank you so much for your support. Huge thank you for the tip, and enjoy that old historic shirt. That is hilarious. Thank you very, very much. Felix Zhang says, heard that NASA met some problems on the launch of CMV module Gateway, making the TLI capability of Falcon Heavy questionable. Since CMV only weighs 19 tons, what's your opinion? To be honest, I have no idea. I have not heard anything about this, so I really don't feel I don't feel like I have the necessary information to make an informed. I have any weight on this. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I do not know. Let's see here. Elongated Musk wants to know if I could make a video on a guy that hates SpaceX. Also, SpaceX is the reason I decided to leave the military and study computer science, so thank you. And saying I am not Elon Musk. I know you're not because you're on YouTube. Nope, not going to do that. I'm not going to... Who is that? Why do we care? A lot of people hate SpaceX. Doesn't matter. A lot of people love SpaceX. A lot of people love spaceflight. A lot of people love progress in rockets and space exploration. And that's what I'm going to stick to, and I'm going to try and make that easier for people to understand. That's all. Patrick Walzer. 58 months of membership, almost 5 years supporter, but way longer a subscriber to many years to come. Greetings from Germany. Thank you so much, Patrick. That is awesome. Thanks so much for the ongoing support. When do we see a Starship Heavy? We will never see a Starship Heavy. First off, thank you. Elon's already said that they really dislike the Falcon Heavy configuration, the Heavy configuration with 3 cores. It just adds a lot more complexity. And especially in the world of stainless steel and having the factory right next to the launch pad, the easier thing to do to get more performance is first stretch it like they're doing, increase the performance of the engines, increase the mass of the rocket, increase the delta V, the capability of the rocket. Beyond that, if they need more performance yet, scale it. Bigger diameter, go to 12 meters instead of 9 meters. This architecture can scale very easily because the Raptor is relatively small. They can do another ring of Raptor engines around a 12-meter diameter, no problem. And they would need new stuff, new tooling, new things. But because it's stainless steel, they're just doing ring sections. That's pretty easy. That scales. They'd obviously have to do a new launch pad. You'd have to do that anyway if you had a heavy configuration. Heavy just adds a lot more complication, whereas it's just easier to scale the system in diameter. This is from Justin L. What is the feasibility? Thank you again for your tip as well. Feasibility of Starship in 15 years or so, capturing asteroids and landing them back on land for SpaceX to mine rare metals. I think in 15 years, I think we'll be mining asteroids, but I don't think we'll be bringing them back. Getting Starship out into the asteroid belt and bringing it back is basically not going to say impossible, but it's not the most efficient way to do asteroid mining, and you don't really need to bring the whole asteroid back per se. What would likely happen to be like tugs that come back and then meet up with a starship in low Earth orbit or something like that, and then re-enter, and et cetera, et cetera. 15 years, maybe, yeah. Maybe that is about the, I think the 2030s will be the era of finding financial value in things in our solar system. Will be the 2030s. And that could be a booming economy. Sean Cook, thank you so much for the support. And from Jarrett Scott, let's go, fellow space nerds. Thank you so much. Jeez, you guys. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate the support. That makes me feel very happy and feel very loved. I very much appreciate it. Everyone say thank you to Jarrett and to everyone that's been... I'm trying not to just read these super chats, but there's been a ton of super chats. Normally we try to take as many questions as we can, but we've had a lot of very generous donations. So let's answer a normal one here from Rohan saying, do Falcon 9s have Starlink terminals like Starship does? No, not yet. And I could potentially see them retrofitting. I don't see any reason why they couldn't retrofit, maybe. I don't know. That's actually a good question. I'm kind of surprised they haven't tried it on a Falcon 9. There might be some kind of consideration that I'm not thinking of. Fernando, thank you very much. This is Mauricio. Sorry, late to the party. Are they saving Boeing's butt? No, this is a... I'll touch on this very quickly. I'm going to play both sides of the coin here. Number one, remember, you're going to see a lot of headlines during these times. Just like, a few weeks ago, we saw some really scary headlines and people going nuts over the idea that there's an emergency on the ISS. With anything like this, let's wait to hear directly from NASA and or Boeing and what they've said, and the reason they're one of the reasons they're keeping it on board. This is important because this is irrefutable. This is not saying that everything's perfect. I'm not going to defend and say that, it's totally fine, everything's going to come back. But saying that they're stranded is absolutely going beyond what the current status is. So let's just keep things in perspective here. The reality is the service module, I'm going to use a Dragon capsule here because, well, I have one and I don't have, wait, I'll make this big so you can see this easier. Because I have okay, so for Starliner, capsule and service module, right? But the service module is what has most of the primary maneuvering thrusters on board. Unlike Dragon, which has all of its maneuvering thrusters on the Dragon capsule, there's no thrusters on the trunk. For Starliner, most of its thrusters and propellant and maneuvering system is inside of its service module. There are still a few on the module to help it orient and stuff like that after its deorbit burn. But what's important is that once they commit to deorbiting, they jettison the service module. So if they're trying to collect data on the issues that they know they have, helium leaks and thrusters that aren't acting properly, the best thing they can do right now is collect data because they can't get it back on the ground and check out what went wrong. So they have to collect all that data in space. It's in a stable state right now, connected to the International Space Station. They can collect data on it while it's connected to the International Space Station. The astronauts are safe. There's margins in all of the propellant. The helium, I think they have a margin of 10x the amount of helium that they would need, including the leak factors. So it's a lot of things have been blown way out of proportion on this topic. That's not to say that things went perfectly at all. Of course, there are issues with Starliner. And of course, that's why they're taking a lot of time to try to characterize everything they can while it's attached to the space station. Because the astronauts are safe, the vehicle's in a spot to be able to do some of the testing and try to figure some things out. And also to make sure that their plan of getting astronauts home during this test flight keeps them safe first and foremost. If they feel like they can't get home safe with this current vehicle, yes, they would look for other options to return. They are not to that point yet. I have not really heard any legitimate whispers of that. I just hear fear-mongering and clickbait headlines. So keep that in mind. Stay level-headed. Stay calm. Let the experts get the data that they need. And meanwhile, obviously, NASA and or Sonny and Butch are happy to continue to be on the space station to lend a helping hand. They are obviously veteran astronauts that can do a lot of good work on the ISS. So it's kind of their worst case scenario right now of being stuck on the ISS is like, oh, they just get to keep doing the job that they love to do and that they've trained to do. So just keep that in mind. And of course, we are wishing the best to the teams that are, trying to keep everyone safe and try to continue to learn about how to make Starliner an operational vehicle. So Don Saunders, go Falcon Heavy, go goes you. Thank you so much. This is from Mouser at 52 months of membership. Glad it went well today. It can't be a coincidence. The weather satellite was lucky with launch weather. That is true. Oh, we're going for second stage Relight already.
All right, and there we go. We see the MVAC engine on the Falcon Heavy second stage lighting up. This is the second of 3 burns for this engine. This burn is going to last about 1 minute and 27 seconds.
Things are going very well with the launch vehicle as they are on this trajectory that Mark Hammett's talked about, raising that orbit up to where we need to get going for that coast phase to head out to geotransfer. So things are looking very well, and all the telemetry on second stage is performing good, or MVAC is performing very well, and telemetry looks like we are heading in the right direction, and the vehicle's performing nominal.
The image that you're seeing right there, an animation, again, of where we are, the trajectory that we have been keeping an eye on, and as you said, that we had an interview about earlier in the broadcast.
Yep, we are about 20 seconds from SECO 2, and the vehicle is progressing in a good velocity, stage 2 velocity, and putting GOES U where it needs to be, and making that adjustment in the trajectory that Philip and Mark talked about, and things look good as we're getting ready for MVAC shutdown here in about 5 seconds. Things still progressing well. And there we see MVAC shutdown, and we are beginning this coast phase. Megan, things look good on the vehicle as we are watching the telemetry screens here from SpaceX. The vehicle performed very well during that burn.
Good.
And there we heard the call out for a nominal transfer orbit, and we get ready for this long coast before our third burn.
Absolutely, a long coast phase. We're looking at a coast phase of about 3 hours and 53 minutes. Again, this is a very well choreographed to the second trajectory that gets us to that geostationary transfer orbit that you're talking about. LSP's mission is to deliver GOES U to that geostationary transfer orbit. And while it's there, they're going to do some checkouts of the satellite. And then once operational in geostationary orbit, that is where GOES U becomes GOES East, and we'll keep a continuous watch over the Western Hemisphere.
I'm sorry, how long of a coast phase did they say? Did they say hours? Was this not just a directed geo mission then? I am perplexed. 3 hours. So is this not a directed geo? Is that why it's on a Falcon Heavy? Are they doing something that's like almost directed geo, like getting it on a boosted? Okay, they are doing part of the geo insertion burn. That makes sense. So they're lowering their perigee. It must be. I mean, it's got to be. I don't know what else. How else that even would make sense. So maybe they're reducing the amount of time it'll take to get the satellite into orbit by using some of the extra performance from the Falcon Heavy. That would make a lot of sense. All right, let's answer a few more questions here. Wait.
Spacecraft, because Falcon Heavy is delivering it farther towards this orbit. We are looking at a 20 plus
Almost
year
20
life.
years,
Yep. So again, just any other check of the spacecraft before we...
There you go. So they just mentioned that they use additional performance of the Falcon Heavy to get the satellite closer to its final trajectory of geostationary orbit, therefore making it so the satellite didn't have to do as much orbit raising maneuvers, meaning it extended its lifespan from about 15 years to 20 years because it didn't have to use that propellant to raise its orbit. Did that make sense? Hopefully that does. That's very cool. Okay, so that's why they needed Falcon Heavy and not just a Falcon 9. Okay, so this from Alvis wanting to start your own private company within 10 years. I love it. Do it. Do it. Mike C, love the vids. Thanks for the great coverage. You are welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you guys for watching. Okay, this is another one Andy builds. Unfortunately, I just saw the headline like as I was setting up the stream. I haven't had time to dig into it at all. So really, I have very little opinion on Collins pulling out. I said Michael Collins. On Collins Aerospace pulling out of the spacesuit contract. Yeah, maybe it'll open up new opportunities. Maybe it's an awakening for companies that are not, lean and mean and tight and moving forward in the aerospace industry that were, this could be a wake-up call, a reality check. Glad we have Axiom still working on one. Glad we have SpaceX working on EVA suits. Yeah, I don't know what this means exactly. I need to learn more about it. This is a great question from Mountain Man. Following Elon's the best part is no part and the constant strive to lose weight. Is there any reason they couldn't do 3 grid fins on Starship Booster? I mean, it weighs 3 tons. If that's a stupid question, I apologize. There's no such thing as stupid questions. But that is something I even asked about that because that is in the plans for Starship, is to eventually go to 3 grid fins. It was actually the original plans that we first saw for the interplanetary transportation system in 2016 that had 3 grid fins. But now they're planning to eventually get to 3, but that's a further optimization that they'll work on eventually. And I did ask about that in the latest tour. You can hear it from Elon's mouth. This is from Chris Pengli. Hey, Tim, question for you. What's with the foil bag around the engine? You can see around the engine on the second stage, and how come it inflates and pulses occasionally? Thank you. Great question. So the second stage here got has some thermal insulation around the turbo machinery. And it's twofold. It's to prevent heat from the turbo. There's actually a lot of radiative heat happening in the engine while it's firing. A lot of heat is radiating off of the nozzle. So the nozzle there's no convection. There's no air to transmit heat, but there is radiation. And specifically niobium, the thin material that they use on the engine, does radiate a lot of heat. So they're trying to prevent a lot of that heat from going up in towards the engine and the pumps and warming up the propellant. Not necessarily like melting components. I don't think it'd get that hot, but it would definitely hurt with the cryogenic liquid oxygen. They're also trying to just keep they're just keeping a thermal barrier between the turbopump assembly. And the reason that you're seeing stuff pump is there's also gas thrusters on cold gas thrusters that continually help with roll, because don't forget there's a single engine. So the booster and the second stage like this can't roll without the use of gas thrusters. So you'll see it like occasionally just doing pulses to keep everything on a perfect trajectory. So you'll see that. You also see, potentially venting of, purging and things like that that's just kind of happening as the engine's running, and you'll see that interacting with the foil. Again, there's no air, there's no atmosphere interacting with it. But as you would, if you fire a cold gas thruster that is nitrogen, molecules of nitrogen are shooting out in all directions, basically, because you're in the vacuum of space, there's no atmosphere. So even if you have a far expanded nozzle, it still is going to shoot out pretty much in all directions, and those molecules will interact with the thin foil. This is from, great question though. Brandon, know of a good quality matching set of maglev planets moons on display on desks and stuff. I'm really struggling to find something like this. MOVA isn't maglev and the quality isn't great. I don't know of any maglev planets at all, but that is a good idea. What do you envision for the future of engines in spaceflight? I think, near future definitely we'll get nuclear, thermal nuclear engines for sure. That makes a ton of sense. I think eventually we'll get to maybe I would love to see some kind of large solar sail system being used. Probably not for human spaceflight. It would have to be enormous to offset the low thrust. It's too slow. We'll see large solar sails, though, for potentially interstellar probes. Hang on. Are they? Okay, so they're going on a break.
And live images of GOES-U separating from the rocket. Until then, have a good night.
Cool. So they're taking a break. So we'll just do this. We'll just do a little fireside chat. So I think those are the main propulsions that I think we'll see in the future. Yeah. Let's see. Let's keep going here. The Ian says the hugeness of Starbase reminds me of Mariah's chamber in the Balrog scene. Balrog scene was the Balrog scene. Am I being very dumb? Oh, Lord of the Rings reference. I'm sorry, I don't quite. I've seen them ish. I'm not smart enough. Okay, so. Sorry, raising the perigee. Oh, you're right. Did I say lowered the perigee? I meant to say raising perigee. Geo, hold on. Do you know if they dispose the Falcon? Hang on, sorry, I'm trying to catch up here. Yeah, I think they would be kicking the second stage out to a graveyard orbit for this. But, okay, let me answer a few more questions here, and then I'm going to get out of here. Ting Chen says, became a member. Thank you very much. Let's see, this is from Shlomo Hammer. Says, I just bought the Falcon 9 1100 model from you, and it's the best desktop object on my desk. I love it. Thank you so much. I am still really, really, really proud of these. Like I said, we're definitely working on a lot more. I just don't know if any other... I mean, it's just satisfying. Even, like, hearing the metal, you know, like, metal on metal. That, like, I love that. Like, it just feels good to play with and to have. So I'm so proud of these. I hope you guys always appreciate that I try really, really, really hard to make the best products that I can, whether it be physical merchandise or videos. I try really hard. I spend a lot of energy and effort trying to go above and beyond. And I'm glad that it's being appreciated because I'm very proud of our Falcon 9 model rockets. And I cannot wait to get to our next set, which will be we've talked about this a few times, but if you happen to have not seen it. Well, whoa, I got stuck on the headphones. Thank you, headphones. Rolled over the cord. The next set we're going to do is going to be 1/100 scale Mercury Red. It's going to be the Mercury set. 1/100 scale Mercury. These are to the same scale. How crazy is that? You don't think of Falcon 9 as that big, but then when you see, and you might not think of Mercury Redstone as that small, but when you see it next to the Falcon 9, you realize it's like, it's very small. And I love that. So these are the prototypes that we have. And then we also have it's going to be a 2-pack, so it's going to be Mercury Atlas and Mercury Redstone. This is Mercury Atlas, and what I like about Mercury Atlas, again, scale size. Isn't that crazy how much Atlas has grown in the years? It used to just be this little tiny guy. What's cool, though, is you do see the engines actually gimbal on this because the booster engines are on the outside, they gimbal. And then what's really cool is it has the boost. You drop the booster engines just like they did in real life, and it then ran on the sustainer engine. So it's a 1.5 stage configuration, basically, where they dropped the booster engines once it didn't need that much thrust, and they ran solely off the sustainer engine. And then, yeah, it just goes back in place, and I love that. These are going to be really, really cool. They're probably not, obviously, they're not going to be as big of a seller as the Falcon 9, I don't think. But I think people will be missing out if they haven't seen how cool it is, because it's going to look awesome. They're going to be metal, too, and all that. So stand by for those. I'm just excited to have, like, a whole... And these will have a stand, too, so they'll be able to stand next to the Falcon 9. Somebody will make a stand, so you don't have to have it standing. This is the cursed Falcon 9, which is landing legs out with the second stage on top. Not okay. But we'll do something someday. But I'm excited for that. All right. Drover became a member. Thank you so much. Dear Moon, dear Mars. I'm not going to Mars unless it's my studio space down in Texas. Then I'll go to Mars. Footy nut guy. Always love hearing from you. Do flat earthers also deny that I exist? Probably. Yeah. I'm about as real as the Super Bowl. I've never been to the Super Bowl. I don't think it exists. It's probably fake, right? It's good logic. Jaden Sedano, do you think Starship ticket will ever be as cheap as an airplane ticket? I don't think the economics of that will ever work out. Do I see it being less than, let's say, $50 million a seat someday? Yes. Do I see that trend in spaceflight and the cost of spaceflight going down? Yes. Do I think we'll get down to $1 million a seat in my lifetime? Maybe. I hope. Do I think we'll get down to it being $1,000? Doubtful. But maybe. I mean, that would be a big, 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 big deal. And a lot would have to change between now and then. So we've talked about this quite a bit, Alphabet, and thank you for your super chat. I have a video of Falcon 9 versus Starship. Watch that. the engine basically is the rocket. If you change the engine out, very few rockets ever go to a different engine and aren't like a totally different system. If you can't just swap out the Raptor for Merlins. First of all, you can't fit 9 on a Falcon 9, so it would no longer be a Falcon 9. Totally different propellants, different densities. Things even like the landing burn. Now you have an engine that's about 3 times more powerful. For your one engine landing burn, it'd be very difficult. You're already doing a really crazy hover slam or suicide burn. It'd be way more aggressive on a Raptor style Falcon 3 or whatever you'd call it, because it only need 3 Raptor engines. It'd be a totally different system. It'd be a brand new architecture. It'd be brand new everything. At that point, you're building a brand new rocket. It's no longer the Falcon 9. You couldn't do a Raptor upper stage. This Merlin engine's way too powerful already. If you replace this with a Raptor vacuum, it would be like 3 times too powerful, because this is already like at the limit almost of too powerful for the size of a vehicle. It pulls some serious G's even at minimum throttle for some payloads. Sorry, could I? Yeah, I could have. Let me see here. Let me bring this back up real quick. Good question. From Wizzless. Let me go here. Pull this up. Well, crap. The stupid YouTube thing is in the way. Let's see if I can. Okay. So Liftoff, we know that one. Biko, booster engine cutoff. Miko, main engine cutoff. So boosters are the 2 side boosters. Miko, the main center core engines. SES1, that's second engine start 1. Payload fairing deploy, we know that. Second engine cutoff 1. Second engine start 2. Second engine cutoff 2. Second engine start 3. Second engine cutoff 3. And then, yeah, that's what those are. This is, I wonder if Starliner crew is trained for going home in Dragon or Soyuz. I think there is some cross-training, and both astronauts have already flown on Soyuz already, too. So there's that. They already have been trained to fly on Soyuz. Yeah. Good show. Thank you so much, Jeff. Much appreciated. And from JK Video, thank you so much for your super chat as well. Do you guys cover everything on Rocket Lab launches? I can't do everyone. I really wanted to do the last one. Unfortunately, I was working way too hard on getting that last Elon video, the tour, done. Couldn't stop. I was literally trying so hard to make it happen on Tuesday. Got it out today. Very happy about that. Love Rocket Lab. They use my music in their launches. If you ever listen to their launches during their coast phase, they use Everyday Astronaut music, which you can find anywhere you stream music, Apple Music, Spotify, wherever. Which I just get a tickle out of that they use my music. Yeah. So I do like to stream them, and I will stream them in the future. Mercury Silver Falcon, thank you so much for thinking that the models are awesome. I agree. Sandra DeGrave, can I make the shipping cost to Europe cheaper? So we've talked about this a ton. We are working, by the end of the year, we really hope to have a European warehouse that will bring down the cost, especially on these. These are heavy. These are 2 kilograms. They're very heavy and quite a large box for them. So because of that and the price of them, the VAT, the taxes, the shipping cost is quite high to Europe. So we are trying to figure out a solution to have these in a warehouse in Europe and a few other like kind of priority items in Europe that are top sellers to try to bring the cost down to our European customers, because we know it's insane. We already do as much as we already do discount the raw shipping costs. We actually take a hit on because we discount it to help you out, because it's still ridiculous. I understand how expensive it is. I don't know how other companies ship so cheap, because we're discounting already. However, what we might be doing that other companies might not do, like say you order a shirt from a website from the US and it gets there. What we do is we have tracking door to door. We pay all, what you see in the checkout is you're already paying taxes, fees, the customs, all that stuff. So it'll get smoothly through customs and delivered to you. You won't ever have items stuck in customs and stuck with an extra €30 fee because you didn't, wasn't properly handled. So although our prices for shipping look high, they do factor in all that stuff. And it has been a big relief for a lot of customers compared to what we had been doing before, which is basically just sending it, and then people get stuff stuck in customs and stuck with like really high customs fees sometimes. So, but we are working on some solutions. Yeah. Captain Savage, I wonder if there's better way than using tiles on the ship. There's definitely other solutions. I really like Stokes' solution. We talk about that a lot. Heat shields are a hot topic, literally. With my latest videos with Elon at Starbase. So watch those if you want to know about alternate solutions to heat shield tiles. When's the 1/100 BFR Starship coming? Not until it's A, done iterating like crazy, and B, until we get like at least 5 other rockets in our collection. Then we will do that. This is DexDev. I think Elon should help develop quantum modems so we can have real-time telemetry, interplanetary comms. That would be insane. Yeah. I'm into that. From Michael Sporer, what do you think we can expect the new OLM flame trench in Starbase? What do you when probably do you think we can expect, or what do you think we can expect of the new? I hope it works. I think that's the only expectation you can have. Is like, does your flame trench and launch mount work? Yes, and that's what I expect, and I hope that it helps reduce refurbishment costs and turnaround times and all that stuff. We will see. This is from Straight Matter Designs. Hey, bud, great work. Do they have a mic on the launch vehicle or on the ground on launch? If on the vehicle, what would we hear on the speed of sound? So I don't know if they do have a mic on the vehicle. Definitely not during the broadcast, I don't think, because it sounds really weird. It's really tinny. What you're mostly going to hear is, sound transmits through solids very well, as you know. Put your head on a railroad track even, and very carefully, don't do this, actually. Don't put your head on a railroad track. But in theory, if you did put your head on a railroad track, you could hear a train coming from several kilometers away because sound travels very well through a solid. And so even in the vacuum of space, you can still hear sounds because the sound can be emitted, and you hear things, vibrations through metals and through the solid. So they mostly just use ground mics, and yeah. And this will be the last question we're going to take from Andre. Will you stick to 1/100 scale for all future models you want out of the shop? Yes, that's why we chose 1/100, because A, it makes sense. You can literally get out your ruler and measure, a centimeter, and then go, oh, that's a meter in real life. It just literally makes sense. Why isn't everything 1/100? Also, it makes it so if we went down to 144 is another common one. I know I think these are based on like inches or something, which is why the 172, 144 is common. If you go down to 144, these turn even tinier. They literally turn into like pencils, and that is not fun. We don't want these to be itty bitty bitty baby pencils. They're already tiny. But also, if we went to 172, Saturn V, Falcon, or Starship become massive, like way too big. You're going to be basically ordering a refrigerator and trying to, purchase that and have that in your house. Oopsies. I just broke something. I put this in wrong. No. These are just kind of cheap, 3D printed prototypes. So these are not the metal versions, so I need to be a lot more careful with them. And I'm being all willy-nilly with it, and I'm paying the price. Dang it. Those are only prototype I have. Anyway, all 1/100 scale, because that is the only thing that makes sense to me. It keeps big rockets tangible and like still huge. Like think about it. Falcon, when by the time we get to doing a Starship one, if it's like 140 meters, 1.4 meters tall, that's like 4.5 feet tall. That's like the size of a child. That's going to be insane. And then also at the small scale, like I really want to do, Electron and Firefly and some other smaller rockets, at that same scale will still be really small. So I don't want to go smaller and I don't want to go bigger. 1/100 is perfect. And it will be really fun to see them all at the same scale. That's like my ultimate goal, is that all of them will be the same scale. Okay. Thank you, my friends. I really appreciate all of you tuning in, hanging out with me here today. I miss you guys. I hope that you enjoyed those videos. I'm for sure going to be, just making sure that I'm keeping up with everything. Yeah, we're good. Thank you guys so much. Stay tuned. There'll be some videos, more videos still in July. I'll have some videos out. I think it'll be awesome. You'll really like what I'm working on, I promise. And we'll see you for sure. I'll do another stream in July. I'll do hopefully we'll see Starship in the next month or two as well. So join us for that. Huge thank you to the mods for helping run the show and keeping it awesome, and Mary Liz for doing some stuff on the back end. Everyone say thank you to our mods. Thank you to Mary Liz. Thank you to everyone that helped make the stream possible. That's going to do it for me. All right, I love you guys. Have a fantastic day. Congratulations, SpaceX, NOAA, NASA, everyone involved. Beautiful launch. Love to see it. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Goodbye, everybody.